Welcome to another episode of the Crypto Conversion Podcast. As usual, it's Brandon, Matt, and Connor here, and we're bringing kind of a fun episode this evening because we've been having a lot of serious chats lately on the podcast, and we just kind of wanted to not necessarily have a vent session, but I think this will be what we call the first installment of time capsule editions of the podcast, where we're just going to kind of talk about what's been happening. I know we're past Q1 of this year, conventionally speaking, in finance terms. We're now like moving forward with Q2 of the year, but just kind of rehashing what happened the first quarter of the year, and going into April or April May as summer starts. And these episodes we kind of talked about doing maybe 2 to 4 a year, depending on our mood and just what kind of stories are worth rehashing. Because there's for a while when we started the podcast, the news cycle just was not really active at all. And then as we started, and it might have been because we were just paying more attention to things really started to ramp up. But also the banking crises, multiple banking crises helped us exponentially have more to talk about too. But yeah, these time capsule editions I think will be good moments to look back on, in terms of just like, wow, we were so stupid when we talked about this back in May. Just to episodes for us to look back upon and just gain more perspective. And I think that it's healthy for us and it's great for the audience because you get to kind of see our human side and just maybe laugh a little at what we joke about, so on and so forth. Still always keeping the podcast what we firmly are grounded in, which is the parallels between the crypto culture and Christianity, but we can have fun at the same time while we're doing it. As always, please like, comment, review, subscribe, download, unsubscribe, resubscribe wherever podcasts are found. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We appreciate you all for being here. And with that, Matt, how would you get us started with what's been going on in the news, or at least what's been happening looking back the previous couple of months? Because we've had some big
Yeah.
action with the bank failures.
Yeah, I do want to talk bank failures. I do think it might be good to get out of the way the Balaji bet. He cut that early, and so unfortunately, I feel like I was very excited. I think there was supposed to be at least a month left of that bet. Bitcoin to $1 million in 90 days, and so I was excited to see what would happen. Did I think it was going to 1 million? Probably not, but I was curious to see where it would go. But so he ended the bet early. He gave, I think it was like 500,000 to the guy, and then maybe they came to an agreement because the guy was, I was following his Twitter. He was planning on donating like at least half of it anyway, and so then he gave 500,000 to give directly, and then he gave another 500,000. I'm not sure where. Oh, Bitcoin Core, the development team that kind of runs Bitcoin, and so yeah, so. I don't know how you guys feel about him ending things early. I think a lot of the things banks are continuing to fail, which was his original point. So we'll see how things continue to pan out. But I don't know. You guys have any thoughts on Balaji?
If you've been listening to Balaji long enough, you shouldn't be surprised by this. I've heard him on good authority in the bull market. He said it when he was on one of Tim Ferriss's podcasts. He said that if he had $1 million today, he would invest half of it in Bitcoin and half of it in Ethereum at the top of the bull market, which would have really not looked great. So, Balaji as investment advice, I don't know if I would necessarily take his advice, but I do appreciate his philosophy and his ideas that he is pushing out there. It's definitely fresh perspective. I do think it is a part of that technological utopianism that we kind of dispelled a couple episodes ago, but he still has some really good ideas, and we would be foolish not to at least listen to some of those. I mean, he, like you said, he called the bank failures but the Bitcoin to $1 million was a little rich even for my blood, and I was just like, man, like that would be interesting if that was the case. So yeah, I don't know,
I
Connor,
think we all
what
knew
your
it was
thoughts
like
are.
something of a not, I wouldn't call it like a marketing stunt, but it was a little bit of that, like grab attention kind of stunt. So we all knew that. I think where he shot himself in the foot, and I forget which podcast he went on, but he basically said as much because people were claiming that for a while, and he was kind of not saying anything about it. So I think as soon as that happened, it kind of dispelled like all the magic of the bet a little bit. So not that anything would have been different, but I don't know. I think a lot of prophecies, in some respects, especially market prophecies, are kind of self fulfilling.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I do appreciate he put his money on the line, and he was calling attention to what is a very real problem. I mean, I was just looking historically right now, and you look at like the 7 largest bank failures in history, and 3 of them were this year. So
Yeah.
like you only have 2 bank failures that make the list from 2008, and you have 3 in 2023. I mean, that's
Wild.
crazy.
Yeah. I do think Balaji also said as much in his, he kind of clarified in that video where he was talking about closing out the bet that he said he burned a million, his line, his motto was I burned a million because they're printing trillions, like
Mhm.
again, he did, he spent the money to advertise what he was talking about. But yeah, so banking failures, wild to see, a few banking failures. We've talked about them before, right? And then somewhat recently, First Republic Bank, which even when I don't know, I thought even when Signature, Silvergate, and Silicon Valley all were falling, people were like predicting First Republic would be next, and it took a minute, right? But that one, got bought out by J.P. Morgan Chase, and then I don't know. I've been seeing, there's a number of who tweeted it. I'm gonna pull up the tweet. Mario Knopfel. I don't know how to say his last name, and I feel bad, but
Sure.
you
Oh
guys know who
yeah,
I'm talking about.
Mario. Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. He tweeted out. I think this is yesterday actually. He said 130 regional bank stocks are down more than 5% today, and then the ones that were down the most, you had PacWest, was down like 51%. Western Alliance was down almost 40%. And I think rumors were coming out about, I don't know if it was one or both of those. I'm so bad with names. That's why I had to pull up this tweet. But I think there were one or both of those were like seeking a buyer. And so I don't know, just kind of wild to see. I don't know. Have you guys seen any
Well,
other? Oh, go
I
ahead.
can't say I've seen like names of other banks that are failing,
Sure.
but I know the problem is, and maybe one of you guys can explain this a little better. It's like one of those things where it's like, oh, I got it, and then wait, like how's that work again? But it really is the Fed killing the banks.
Yeah.
Whether or not the banks have responsibility for taking on too much risk is one thing, but the fact is, like with the way interest rates have been rising, um, they now have competition from more liquid investment houses. And that's probably not the right way of saying that. But basically, these investment houses can keep up with the changing Fed rates and offer competitive rates that people are then moving their assets from the banks to these houses and causing basically these bank failures because the banks can't do it. So,
Yeah, I mean, like I'm looking at some of these bank stocks that I follow, Matt, and the good ones are up significantly, but
Really?
these are smaller, like local consumer banking, mortgage banking,
Interesting.
wealth management, and trust services. So
well, of the 3 that failed, I mean, those
yeah,
aren't really necessarily local banks. They're definitely business banks of some sort, right?
I think it is a lynching of the big banks as opposed to some of the smaller ones. I think some of the smaller ones are a lot more they have to be a lot more intelligent about how they do things. Whereas I think some of these big banks, there might have been this complex philosophy of like we're too big to fail.
Hmm.
I think there was some of that going on, and the government was putting out such cheap interest rates, and somebody had to buy it. who had the most capital to buy it? Those big banks did. And so then by being the biggest buyers of those trash junk bonds, they were the ones to lose the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I think there's so like kind of what you were saying is people feel like there are alternatives, right? And you know, I don't know if businesses are actually buying these treasury bonds, you know, that are at these high rates, or at the very least, you know, you could put it in a stock market like a bond ETF, or I don't know what all the different ways you can, you know, increase your exposure to bonds. I think it's because of that, because there's might be easier access. I've been seeing a lot of things also that said deposits are down, right? And so like the banks could, if people were depositing a lot of money, they could, you know, kind of hedge their previous things by buying more government bonds, and then they'd be, you know, a little less lopsided. But no, it's funny. But I think you're right on the small banks. I'm personally not concerned with my local credit union. That's where I do all my banking.
Me neither.
I don't think they're going to fail. That would be, yeah, it'd be wild. But I, you know,
Yeah, I use
Yeah,
credit
same,
union
man.
also, Matt. I'm not
Yeah.
too concerned either.
I also do the credit
My
union,
bank
yeah.
actually did go through a consolidation a couple years ago in Wisconsin, so that was kind of interesting. But I haven't had too many issues since that happened. I'm not going to say what my bank is because I don't want to put anything scrutiny. There were a couple of credit unions that did consolidations in the state that I'm originally from. So it would be difficult to figure out which one I'm talking about. But yeah, it's interesting how even the credit union has their own versions of consolidations as well in certain like regions and demographics, locales, essentially.
Totally.
So yeah, it'll just be interesting to see. I don't know, to continue to watch this play out. You know, I wonder if like you said, Brandon, there is this kind of sense of too big to fail, and I wonder. I didn't look too much into this. You know, J.P. Morgan Chase purchasing, you know, First Republic, but I think I saw a couple of people mention that it might have been not quite with regulation, like a bank that big should not have been able to purchase a bank that big.
Why were they allowed to purchase them but not SVB? That's my question. Because they wanted to buy SVB too, but
Well,
they weren't allowed to by the
yeah.
FDIC because of
Well, yeah, and
monopoly conditions in the market.
Yep. Yep.
yeah, it was very strange. That's the other thing too, because there's definitely that dynamic at play. Because of the three banks, you have SVB, Signature, and now First Republic. First Republic, as far as I can tell, was not directly related to crypto in some way, but both SVB and Signature were crypto banks, and Signature particularly. Still, people are saying that it doesn't show evidence that that bank actually failed. They just shut it down.
Yeah.
So that's a
But
strange case too.
that's because the executives were doing nefarious things to manipulate stocks.
Oh, were they?
Yeah,
'Cause I don't know, I think some people think-
they were selling all their shares.
Maybe, but I mean, it still seems a little suspicious.
No,
Agreed.
I saw a report that I don't know who put out the report, but there's a report, I think, that I don't know if it looked at all of them, or at least, you know, maybe it was just Signature, just Silicon Valley, but the report said that like crypto was not related to, you know, the failure, like it was other factors, like it was not contributing. So yeah, it's kind of wild to see. Yeah. Anything else on banking? I thought that was a big topic to touch on, because it's kind of been this ongoing process.
Yes,
You know, I'm
definitely the
interested to
biggest
see
topic.
where it continues. But
It's a huge topic, and it's going to continue to evolve this year. The government has the government finds new ways to shoot itself in the foot every day lately, and this is just another way that they've been exploiting some of these players, and there's others that are overextended. It's just going to depend on who, you know. And the other question is, who's J.P. Morgan also going to be allowed to buy this year? You know, they're not done. They're not done buying. There's
Yeah.
blood in the streets, and J.P. Morgan knows that that's time to buy. So, let's see what happens.
Yeah, it does. I mean, people are
Get
saying
your
it looks-
popcorn.
it might be the case that the Fed is more than willing to kind of hand some of these somewhat smaller banks, consolidate them into the hands of the big players. So, I mean, that's not a good thing. That's definitely not something that I would support. But it is hard for me to really look at these bank failures as, the little guy getting pummeled. It doesn't seem to be the
What I
case. But
what I get frustrated by is seeing influencers like finance influencers on YouTube then going in and telling people get your money out of small banks. Small banks is where you are going to get caught holding the bag. And I'm like, why though? Like if you're in a good like I like to think in the Midwest here things are a little different, but it was just kind of funny how I'm like, really? Like you really just want me to go to Chase just because a couple of the other banks just completely went kaput? Like I don't think that solves the problem.
Yeah. And there is something to be said though, and I think I don't know if it's Balaji or someone else was pointing this out, that there's really as a consumer, and this is the problem, right? Think of the economic incentive. If your bank doesn't go under, you don't get rewarded for continuing to bank there, right? I mean, you get your 0.1%, if that, right?
yeah.
But if your bank does go under, then it's really bad, and you have to wait for your funds to get back and stuff. So it is weird because you do have these economic incentive to, like, if you are worried about your bank, to pull out money from the bank, right? There's no incentive to stay, because then you're just going down with the ship. I don't know. I've definitely been thinking about this, and I've been chatting with some friends. And so from kind of a moral perspective, I'm curious your guys' thoughts on fractional reserve banking in general, right? Because that's part of the problem here, right? Is that, like, the banks do not hold your deposit, right? Like, and that's why you could have these bank runs, right? If people start trying to withdraw, and too many people start to withdraw, then you realize that they're not actually holding your money. I don't know. Do you guys have thoughts on that? The whole
I,
system.
yeah, I think we've like covered this a little bit in the past, just with the concept of usury and whatnot, and
Yeah.
kind of what that entails. Yeah, I mean, I don't like it. Overall, I don't think it's a healthy system. Because it's one thing if you're putting your money into like an investment of some sort, but that's really not what people who are most of us who are putting our money in banks are really thinking. Like, especially with the way the interest rates have been for the past 15, almost 20 years now. You're not really making any money. Like, you're not putting your money in your bank account because you're like, oh man, I'm investing in my future.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. You're just holding your money there because it's a safe place to store it. And and even worse than that, it's not just a safe place to store it. It's the only way you can transact, because you need a bank account so that you can
Mm-hmm.
shop online and you can do normal data. You can pay your bills. That's all online. So now you have to go through a bank. There's really you can't just hold cash. So you're not really getting anything for it, and they're making money off of your money that you're forced
Yeah.
to give them.
Yeah.
So that's wild.
No, I think you're right. I think it's weird how, like you have to have a bank account. You can't operate,
Yeah.
function in the world without it. But no, there is. I remember when I was a kid and I learned that I was getting 0.1% interest, and I was like, oh gosh, if I had $1 million, I'd be getting like 1,000 a year, and thinking. I remember doing the math as a kid, but no,
Yeah.
you're right, and it's I think there's and maybe it'd be interesting if there were kind of two different entities that did this, right? Maybe fractional reserve banking is fine, if it is seen as an investment, right? But I think most people look at a bank as a custodial service, right? They're going to hold my money so that I can use it online, right? And
The,
that'd be great.
there,
But they're not custodial, right?
Mm.
But then it would be another thing if I would say, hey, I have a local bank. They're giving mortgages to people in the community. I want to, like, invest in the community, and maybe they give you a bigger percentage because that's their model. Is not, this isn't custodial. This is,
there's
I
banks
don't know.
there's banks that do that, Matt. If you are
Do they?
if you are a big enough swinger in a small enough like demographic and you have a connection
Mm-hmm.
with your banker, you can ask them, hey, I am doing a lot of business with you here, and I want to keep doing business with you, but I need more interest than what I am getting today on what I have with you. So you have to be kind of like a real estate mogul essentially to get that kind of cachet with your bank, but it's not for just Joe Schmo. Like I've heard of one situation with a particular YouTube finance person that does this, and it's actually really interesting. Could be a cool person to have on the podcast someday. Just to hear some of his thoughts. But yeah, there are ways. It's just it's kind of a who you know situation.
But that's the point is, I mean, that is what they're doing is they are investing your
Yeah.
money for such a high profits. They want people to deposit. So like if they, I don't know. So it might not be a bad model if you look at it as an investment, right? To say, hey, I'm putting money in here because they are investing in the local community and I'm going to get, a high enough interest rate on it.
I've heard
And it'd be nice
I've heard
if they had that
2.5
for
to
everyone.
3%.
Yeah, but I'm saying it would be nice if that was like it for everyone because that is the model
Sure.
they use, So like, why you're right. You can only get it if you are the top depositor in that bank, and they want to keep you there.
Well, I don't know if it was you that mentioned this or somebody more reputable. No, I'm just kidding.
Thanks.
But somebody said that
It was
there
probably
is
somebody more reputable.
probably.
Odds are in that favor. Yeah.
But I heard somebody saying that there actually happened people who've tried in the past to file, for a bank that would just be a custodial service, and they've been denied. You're not allowed to operate a bank that's solely custodial. And that kind of goes back to this whole concept of like banks being like private banks or something, which makes no sense to me. It's like with the amount of like federal regulation and federal oversight, like there really is no like truly private bank. So, but I mean, that is unfortunate. They just don't allow a non-fractional reserve system.
Honestly, if I was like trying to just deal with the regular banking system, I mean, shoot, composite rate for I bonds issued this month through October, it's at 4.3%. So average person can put 10 grand into an I bond annually. You'd be making more doing an I bond right now than holding your money in the bank. Like I said, everybody is limited to 10 grand annually, but they've been making a comeback. So that's not the worst idea.
In I bonds, correct me. They're like they go with inflation, right?
Yep.
So they look at because I heard a bunch of people doing I bonds, back at the height of inflation when it was like 8-9%
between I bonds and T bonds.
That I don't know, but I know that I bonds have been making a resurgence. I was actually at my bank this past weekend, and we were talking about it, and they were saying, they've made a huge comeback.
Yeah. So I think I bonds follow inflation rates. They follow CPI, and so they adjust the interest rate, every month or so. But then the T bonds, I think, follow they're from the Treasury, so they're at whatever the Treasury rate is. It is my understanding. I could be wrong there. Oh, and Connor, if it wasn't me, I read that somewhere. Okay. So I also saw it. But no, it is funny. It's just funny, right? Because they, I think the main argument against having a fully custodial bank is that everybody would say, oh, wait, well, I'm not getting any interest anyway, so I'm going to keep my funds safe. And then everyone pulls out of every other fractional reserve bank to go into the custodial one. And
imagine that. They would do that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they would. Because that would be the economic incentive, right? Yeah. But anyway, so
one more thing to add on this topic, because I have seen like a lot of people complaining about the way the Fed is raising rates to beat inflation. They're saying, you're killing the market, and we just got to pump it because like the system just needs that kind of support. And like I understand, like a lot of people that I would respect, you guys probably have seen that on the timeline too. People are like, oh, look, the Fed is killing the banks. But you got to realize something. It's like they're right. Like the people who know how to play the system, because there is a way to play the system and do things, in the fractional reserve and make it right. So if you know how to do that and you're smart, like then you can make bank, or at least do well for yourself. And as soon as the Fed starts changing the rules, you get pummeled, and that's not really fair. At the same time, though, for a lot of people out there, just your daily average worker, they don't really care. Like, for a lot of us young people, great. The market's coming down, inflation's coming down, cost of eggs is coming down. Maybe I'll be able to buy a house in the next year if prices come down, right? Like,
Right.
because we're not making money off of the market. I say we, like maybe some of us are doing better than some others,
Sure.
but for most people, that is the case. So I see both sides of the argument, but like I'm not sure that I can blame Powell necessarily for bringing inflation down because inflation's been crazy. So I don't know what the solution would have been in that case.
Yeah, no, it is weird because I mean he's crushing banks, right? Like that seems to be I think, and Balaji I think was arguing this a lot. I think like that arguably is like the reason banks are failing, right? Is
It's 100% the reason,
because
but
but the yeah, I don't know. I always say I don't mind if the housing market crashes. I have a house, but I don't mind if it crashes because like I'm not going
yeah,
anywhere. This
You're
is
not
my
going anywhere,
house,
yeah.
you know.
yeah,
But I don't know if Balaji is correct and like the whole banking system fails and everybody moves to like Bitcoin or crypto, right? Whatever. Um, I do wonder, like in a free market, what does where you don't have, and if you're on the blockchain, right? So you can't like loan money that you don't have, right? Like a fractional reserve bank does. Like what is the interest rate,
yeah.
right? Because Powell controls the interest rates, right? As he moves the Fed rate, interest rates follow. And so like what is a fair interest rate? What are people actually willing to loan money at, or borrow money at? I
Well,
don't
it's going
know.
to depend on JP Morgan.
Sure, but I don't know. I mean, if the whole system fails, right? If banks fail, if it's individuals, what would the individuals look like at a
JP
market,
Morgan
right?
won't fail,
What
Matt.
would?
We would probably, we'd probably see a pretty high, I would imagine, a high interest rate.
Yeah.
If people are not, if people who, like if you had to start lending out money, I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, because
Um,
I mean
like
they
I don't really want to lend you my money. So if people
sure,
don't really want to lend you money, you're going to see high interest rates, right?
sure,
That's kind of
but
the way I look at it. Like if the market fail, if the banks fail, money becomes much more scarce. People are
mhm,
holding a little more. And if you're
yeah,
going to be lending that out, you don't really want to. You're going to make sure you get a good interest rate for it. So I would imagine you'd get a higher interest rate.
yeah.
Like let's not fool ourselves. Like if the banks fail, everybody's going to be in bad times. So
Sure. No, it'd be awful.
and also you got to think about like okay, if everybody starts switching to Bitcoin like that, what happens to all the people who don't have Bitcoin, don't even know how to get
Sure.
Bitcoin,
Yeah, I
right?
don't. Yeah.
Like they're gonna Bitcoin's gonna be skyrocketing, and they're gonna have to buy in at high
Yeah,
prices,
yeah.
and it would not be a pretty transition.
Yeah. And I do doubt that outcome. I doubt that
Yeah,
we'd like switch to Bitcoin, but I think what we might see is like Bitcoin. I don't want to say replace because again, it's not we switch completely, but Bitcoin
yeah,
also is in the market.
yeah.
Um,
Which
but
we might see now that Montana is allowing Bitcoin to actually be a real currency and not charging taxes on it.
yeah, to change gears, talk about regulation. Yeah, have you seen an article about that? Because I saw Dennis Porter's tweet, and everyone was trying to read the tweet to say like, okay, like, are you saying there's no capital gains tax when you use a Bitcoin? Like, is there still sales
That's what
tax
I
or no sales
assumed was your
tax? Like,
question.
I would assume the
It's a
capital
state,
gains as well.
not federal
Mhm.
cut.
Yeah,
So I don't know
yeah.
Montana's state taxes actually, but
Mhm.
I guess
They
I
don't have state
interpret.
income tax, I believe.
But they must have a state capital gains tax. Let me see.
Yeah, because but I couldn't find because Montana at the same time passed something about some regulation around mining crypto, and so every time I look up Montana, Bitcoin bill, it comes to the mining one. I cannot find the one about.
Okay, income tax around like 1%. Sorry, I lied. That's still some of the lowest in the country, though.
They have Florida has no capital. I mean no income tax, but so they do have a capital gains tax. So I assume that's what it is. The state is not going to charge capital gains, but you still have to deal with federal. So it's still not a tax-free currency.
Yeah,
in any state.
and I
But
would
no, I
guess
haven't
the
seen it.
same
To
thing.
answer
But
your
yeah,
question, I haven't seen an article on it, so maybe he's lying.
Yeah. No, because I feel like he also tweeted about the like mining bill, but I don't know. He tweeted about the two things separately, but I can't find it. Um, so politics and regulations, I do think this is going to be it has started to be interesting, and I think it'll just continue to be interesting. I know we talked about the SEC hearing in Congress while ago. Elizabeth Warren is making her anti-crypto army. Yeah, I don't know what are your guys' thoughts? What's the outlook on crypto in the political system?
I find it so funny that a lot of crypto influencers skew left, despite the Democrats
Really?
wanting. Yeah, I mean,
I
I
don't know
know a
if
lot
that's
of them are libertarians, but a lot of ones that I've listened to they kind of seem to skew leftish, and they just like they want that's the side that wants to destroy crypto. So I just don't understand why they put up with that sometimes. I don't understand why a lot of people put up with a lot of the
Yeah.
politicians they elect in this country, but I would think in like certain states that have kind of more libertarian mindsets that they wouldn't even stand for it. Even there's just some trash Republicans too that just don't seem to get it either. I mean, we heard a lot of the good ones in the Gary Gensler hearing, and we definitely found some new allies amidst that. But it's just weird that the left has decided to. Uh, okay, reason why the Democrats are anti-crypto is because now the Democrat Party is the big business party in the United States. It is no longer the Republican Party. The Democrats are the ones that are backed by the big business, the corptocracy that has been built here in America. It used to be Republicans when we were really young, but that has since shifted exponentially. And so it's just kind of interesting how that ebbs and flows. And that's, I believe, why they're going off on a whim and attacking crypto, because it is a haven for people who are not connected with their buddies who they have just been making a killing on in the stock market. This affects them. I don't know if you guys saw. Oh shoot! What's her face? She just got dismissed, but um, California politician. She has just made her husband just made a ton on the stock market, and it's not Nancy Pelosi. It's one of the other California ladies who's been in there for way too long. I retweeted it. I think a couple of days ago.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of
Where
who it, like she was like dismissed because like couldn't even show up anymore. Like she was like in
Well, yeah, because
I don't
she
know
should be
bad
in a
medical
nursing home.
condition. Yeah,
We shouldn't have politicians over
sad.
60 in the White House who are not fit to drive a car. I firmly believe that.
Yeah. I might go a little higher than 60, but maybe I just know some spry 80-year-olds.
60-year-olds. No, that's fair. My dad's over 60, but I know most 60-year-olds aren't doing what my dad does. So
Yeah.
Are
that's
you
the
telling me
thing.
you wouldn't vote for
Kennedy?
I'm not going to say anybody. I don't know how old people are.
Oh, okay. So Kennedy is a Democrat who's, I mean, he's interesting in a lot of ways because he does not kind of follow the left leaning. I know we mentioned him the other day.
Yeah.
He, threw his hat in the ring. Robert Kennedy Jr. He's definitely been tweeting some pro crypto stuff. So I don't know.
I need to
Interesting
see
see.
I need to see his stances on a few more things before I would even give him the stamp of approval.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean. I think it's interesting that he threw his hat in the ring. I don't know any other Democrat who's thrown their hat in the ring for the presidential thing. Like I think everybody's backing Biden,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's come out yet who's backing who, but he seems to be like the next biggest guy who threw his hat in the ring, and he like seems to be very against a lot of left leaning things, right? He seems to be pro crypto. He like even before COVID, I think he was very anti vax. And I don't know. It's kind of funny to watch him.
That's kind of been
RFK.
like a new agey like liberal position for a long time though, to be anti-vax. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
RFK though, he will prove how many like old school Democrats are still actually
Yeah.
breathing. Like I don't think a lot of them are still around.
yeah, he's not gonna he's not gonna make it.
He's not. But I'm curious to see. He's not going to win, but I'm curious to see how well he does. Right? If he gets like even 10% of the nominee. What do they call it? The primary vote. Like that would be interesting, right? If he
Yeah.
wins a state or two, like that'd be wild,
All
right?
right, do
That's
you
true.
do you guys do you guys want to do some bad podcasting? Read some
Uh-oh.
tweets.
Yeah,
So,
read some tweets.
all
Get to
right,
that level.
so so AOC asked Dianne Feinstein to resign. Feinstein, 89 years old, has some of the most unusual trades in Congress over her 30-year career. In that time, her net worth skyrocketed to over 200 million. Let's look at some of her unusual trades. By the way, unusual underscore whales,
Yeah, yeah.
not 100% the most accurate, but they definitely make you think. All right. Feinstein reportedly attended COVID hearings by the CDC in early January 2020. Afterwards, her husband sold between 1.5 and 6 million in stock in a therapeutics company. The stock collapsed shortly afterwards. Feinstein was cleared by the DOJ. In April 2018, Zuckerberg testified before the Senate's Judiciary Committee, which Feinstein sat on. But in 2018, Feinstein's husband bought a quarter million in Facebook stock. Only in May 2018 did Feinstein disclose the Meta purchase. Feinstein praised Meta in the hearing. So that would have been the law. I think this was all right because I think that it can be up to like 6 months after the investment has been made that the Congress representative has to report it. So I think she was in her she was in her legal bounds, although it's still sketchy.
Like imagine this is like the equivalent. Like imagine becoming like a congressman and then buying like the weirdest, worst meme coin you could think of, and then like shilling it in a hearing. Like that's
That would be so funny.
the difference is
Yeah,
Facebook's
like imagine
legitimate,
someone like
right?
going on like a congressman being like, "Oh, I bought like Wall Street Baby." Like, who would buy Wall Street Baby? That's crazy.
Like I mean yeah, like I mean everyone's hating on Elon Musk for like tweeting about Dogecoin, but like yeah, imagine like the congressional, when they were grilling Gensler, like imagine a congressperson like praising Dogecoin in that, like you'd
I
be like,
mean, Trump
what?
Trump
What?
has his own NFTs now, and
Yeah,
that's
Trump's an
just
NFT guy, right? Yeah, but like imagine like yeah, he's not any sort of government official right now, but imagine as president selling an NFT collection, like it madness. But that's
Yeah.
funny, yeah, that she bought Facebook and then she shilled it in the hearing. It's hilarious.
all
That
right.
is
Yeah.
pretty
So
funny.
in August 2020, Feinstein's husband purchased $50,000 in College Reaction, a private polling company. On January 6th, the day of the strike, Feinstein said the previously unreported transaction conducted by my spouse should have been disclosed. She didn't pay the penalty, of course, because why would she have to? On December 4th, 2009, Feinstein and her husband bought 1 million in a biotech company, and this was their only transaction for the entire year. Weeks after, the company was awarded a $24 million governmental grant. Later, Feinstein introduced her own bill that benefited the biotech company. And then 2011, the Postal Service entered into an exclusive contract with the real estate firm CB Richard Ellis Group. Feinstein's husband was the chairman on the company's board of directors. Furthermore, he served on the Global Development Council on Obama's council. This is what Unusual Whales made everybody privy to when they tweeted out. It's a good account to follow if you want some real dirt on what the political sector is investing in, and it's kind of funny because the top the first chart he has pinned to his Twitter profile is members of Congress that beats SPY, which is the S&P 500 ETF in 2022, and it's actually a Republican, but is not too far behind from a Democrat. So there's some people that are really taking advantage of this system, but I would look at it from over the course of a career of a politician, especially one that's been in as long as Feinstein. And I think that's where the real dirt is. I'm not really interested in somebody that's been there for a cup of coffee. They could have already had those assets, but they have to report them now. So it's the ones that have done it over the course of that long career that I'd be really turning the screws on and asking, what are you doing here?
What are your thoughts? Have you guys seen how AOC and who is it, Matt Gaetz, I think,
Interesting.
they both went in and in a kind of bipartisan way introduced this bill to like ban Congress members from owning stocks.
No, it is very interesting.
Yeah. No, it is interesting. It's the more I've been thinking about it, and I didn't read the bill, so I don't know if there's this is in there or not. But really, I feel like if you're a member of the government, like the only thing you should be able to own is like a total stock market fund, right? Because like then if then your incentives are aligned, right? Then if the economy does well, your investment goes up. If the economy does poor, your investment goes down, right? I don't know. I think I don't know if that's in there or not. If they're targeting just individual stocks versus ETFs, but yeah, I don't know. Connor, you hadn't seen that though.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. No, I see the arguments for it. I don't know. It doesn't like. Sometimes I feel like people get a little too like hyper focused on like these small instances of corruption, and it's like obviously any corruption is bad, but for the most part, like I don't really like make decisions about whether I like somebody or not based on like what the stock portfolios looking like, or if they're making money off of some insider knowledge. Like at the end of the day, it's like, are you passing bills that are going to help us or not? So
yeah.
And we just have so many issues that it's hard for me to like hyper focus on those types of things. That's all.
No, it is weird to hyper focus, but it also like, I mean, some of the ones Brandon named, like, if you like, we don't have a free market if the government favors, if politicians favor some, companies over others, right? And they say, I'm going to give a grant to this one because I own half of it, or I'm going to give, I don't. That's I think where everything's a game of incentives, right? And so if we can like remove that incentive that would lead to corruption, maybe we could do things.
Two things.
Yeah, ideally, for sure.
We live in a corptocracy that's controlled by a genocracy, and I firmly believe that. Right, like I really want to see some terms on some of these whatever they have going on in the swamp. Like I want some real terms, because even on federal government employees, like shoot, there are some people that have really cut their teeth in a gravy train off taxpayers. So and it's just insane. And it's very interesting because in this past election cycle, everybody I don't know how people vote or what exactly all goes into that, but it just seems like everybody that was there just got reelected. Like are people just voting for the name that's been there the whole time? I just don't I don't believe that's the case. And but it must be so, because I don't know how else to decipher that. And this is getting way too political for this podcast. But it's okay if we do this once in a while. So I'm all
Yeah.
right. I'm all right doing it.
You ready to hear my? Oh no, Connor, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was
gonna
just going to make
derail the
one point,
conversation.
was that when I attended Bitcoin Miami last year, I remember they did a panel where they were trying to basically make that argument that like crypto is neutral, right? Or what is the phrase that you said there, Brandon? Crypto is like Bitcoin is it's like non-partisan, right?
Nonpartisan.
Yeah.
That was
Yep.
that was what they were trying to kind of like make a point of with the panel. So they got somebody who was a Republican. What was he? I don't know if he was running for Congress. He was some sort of representative. So I don't know if he was just running at the time or not. And so they got a Republican, they got a Democrat basically. And then they had like somebody from Bitcoin Magazine moderating it. And let me tell you, that panel degenerated so fast. By the end of it, they were just straight up like throwing insults at each other. So it was just, I mean, yeah, it's sad. I guess what I would say is like, it would have been humorous if it wasn't kind of sad. But I mean, the simple reality is like people try to kind of make that argument that we can just kind of welcome people with people on other sides of the aisles, and that is largely true. But even people who really support Bitcoin, like I don't think that like that's going to be a what's the phrase, a like a I don't think many Bitcoiners are really going to be single issue voters on that case.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't think it's true to say Bitcoin is non-partisan. I think it could be true to say that Bitcoin is non-political. But as soon as you start to try to make it like some sort of political issue that we're going to like vote on regulations that are going to support Bitcoin, I think you lose a lot of people, because I don't think politically most people are really going to vote for Bitcoin issues or crypto issues in general.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it plays out this election cycle, because it does seem like people are trying to draw. I don't know if they're trying to draw partisan lines or trying to just like make part of their position, pro or anti crypto. I
Yeah.
will say there was and I'm trying to think of who it was. It was a no name. I'd never heard of the guy before, but there was some representative. And on Twitter, he like posted a little video, and he was just talking about how like all the people who are like incredibly vocal in the media, like talking about incentives again. He's like, they're completely different people behind closed doors. Like they're normal people. You can have a conversation with them. But for them to like get their votes right, and they need to be in the public eye in a aggressive way. Anyway, that is kind of interesting, right? For talking about partisan things. And then the other thing I did want to mention, Bitcoin Miami, Kennedy is Robert Kennedy Jr. is going to speak there. That came out
Oh,
as
is he?
well. Yeah.
I didn't see that.
It'll
Okay.
be interesting.
Nice. I saw that one of those other congressmen, I think Lummis.
Yeah. I don't know how to say her name.
I think she's speaking as well.
Okay. Nice. That'll be cool. Yeah. Regulation stuff. Have you guys seen anything? And this might be me. I don't know. MiCA or MiCA. It's I forget what it stands for. Market something. It's a let me see if I can get the name. It's crypto assets is the markets and crypto assets is it was like a regulation framework in the EU. So I don't know if you guys follow the European stuff. You did see that, yeah.
I do see that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. I thought that was kind of interesting. Just as we're on this regulation politics topic, I think it's. I heard a take that if they continue to pass it, like I think it passed one round. I don't know enough about how the European Union works, but it had some seal of approval, but it like did not take effect. Like that requires some other additional seal of approval. But I don't know. I saw a take that, this could be Europe, kind of leading the way of crypto regulation. It looked like it was pretty thorough. It, seems fairly, I was reading through parts of it. I was kind of skimming, and they, very well, they differentiate, crypto that's tied to tokens that are tied to real world assets, tokens that are stable coins, tokens that are, utility tokens, and they treat them all differently, right? That they, at least it seems, kind of well informed enough to make those distinctions. And then I think they even like mentioned that they're not going to tackle NFTs. They're like NFTs, I we'll talk about that later, right? Because like even that, there's so many different things going on there. But at the very least, it's kind of a maybe it's only tokens. It's kind of the feature there. But I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool. Did you? I don't know what you heard about it, or if you looked into it.
No, I do know like a lot of other crypto people out in Europe are obviously supporting it, but I don't really follow too much going on over there.
Okay.
But it does, yeah. It's what it looks like. It seems to be one of the better pieces of legislation that's getting passed.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is, I guess Florida finally did pass its anti-CBDC bill, so that just happened a few days ago.
Nice.
I'm excited to see what some of the other states that align with Florida from a financial standpoint will do regarding that. It'll get interesting because if there's a couple of remnant states, they're literally going to become economic remnants for saving the currency. Essentially, is what it's looking like. So, yeah. Credit to DeSantis where credit's due. He just seems to always know what issues to hit on from understanding where we are from a cultural standpoint.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't really think it's going to do anything, but it's good to see the sentiment.
No, it is
For
good.
sure.
It's good. Any other regulatory pieces?
Nah, let's talk about some crypto stuff as we close things up because this implications of Coinbase leaving the U.S. could get interesting for the market as a whole. So I don't know if many people follow Brian Armstrong, but he's always kind of had an affinity for Japan in general. Like he's always been there a lot throughout Coinbase's existence. I don't know why, but I'm not surprised.
No.
I don't know, but he just is there a lot, and I'm not so surprised by this move to Japan as some other people might be, because he's just there a lot, generally speaking. So I do find it interesting that he's deciding to do this in the midst of the litigation. Was right, they sued the SEC, if I remember correctly. And it's just like it's just kind of funny that this is what this is what he does in light of that. So I don't know what this means. I do think that it means opportunity for other crypto exchanges to obtain market share here in the States, but at the same time, I don't even know if it's worthwhile setting up exchanges in the United States with the way regulation is. So I don't know where you all see this. I think I think it's a combination of Brian Armstrong really likes Japan, and the United States has not been friendly to him at all since they've gone public. So I don't know. Thoughts? It's just kind of my consensus. Just understanding the man behind Coinbase.
Well, I think part of it is that they're not able to do derivatives exchange here, so they're trying to open up that that market for themselves. So they're not like fully moving out of the U.S. though. They're having another like a subsidiary that's going to be outside the U.S. I don't know. I haven't looked into it that deeply, but it's probably just it has to do with regulation, and it has to do with the environment and the fact that they're trying to expand their business, or at least stay afloat amidst all the punishment they've gotten from the U.S.
Yeah, I didn't know the Japan thing, so that would explain the move there, because I feel like the more obvious choices for a lot of crypto firms are there's a lot of, and like Singapore, if you're going to go Asia, I don't know, Dubai seems to be a lot of crypto activity there, but no, I think it's I don't know, my as I've been looking at it, my take is that they're suing the SEC, and this is they're throwing their cards on the table, right? They're like, look, if you don't let us operate, let us do what we want to do, we're moving, we're out. So we'll move everything to Japan. But that's interesting as well. I hadn't thought about the derivatives. That is also I don't know if it's more of an expanding their market or if it's maybe diversifying if the things go south. But I don't know. My impression was that he's like, I'm out of here. Say the word and you lost. You
Yeah,
lost
maybe
the
it might
second
be a little
biggest
bit of a
exchange.
threat. At the very least, I think hedging their bets a little bit, so
Yeah.
that they're not fully invested in something that the SEC might make illegal, tomorrow. So,
Yeah.
but
Lastly, let's have some fun here. So, we haven't really talked about this because we do kind of pride ourselves in being more of a serious podcast in this space, and like I said, this is kind of a fun episode for us. And I don't know, this last 10 minutes, I just want to talk about meme coin season. I feel like we've all been. This is this can be dicey waters, but you are noticing it a lot on Twitter and Reddit. The meme coins are out in full force, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not necessarily a good thing either, because this is how a lot of people can get hurt. And this is not for people that have just started out in this space, because there's a lot of additional fees that sometimes go into going into some of these projects. Now, I'm not telling you to not, take advantage of an opportunity to get an ROI, but I'm just telling people to be smart out there and don't, if something's too good to be true, it's usually too good to be true. But if I were to give advice, look for a total market cap, make sure it makes sense, and have an exit plan, and be prepared to lose. That's it. That's all I can say. I don't know what kind of fun have you guys had with the meme coin space. I know we had. I feel like Dogecoin was kind of the start of it, but Dogecoin was always kind of around, so it just kind of caught on popularity because Elon, and then I think Shiba Inu really kind of took some of that secondhand smoke from Dogecoin and ran with it, and then we saw a lot of other junk come out there, and it really kind of confused a lot of people, because it's like, wait a second, what are we even doing here? And it does kind of give a black eye on the space. So I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on it, but I just find it hysterical, some of the names that people come up with, and it just is hilarious because it's all kind of based on meme culture.
Yeah. I think it's like you said, definitely don't throw your house into it. But I I think what meme coins. I'll start with the good. I do think meme coins, are fun and funny, and like I think I mentioned this before, on this podcast, that Dogecoin was the first crypto I bought. So it definitely has a way to get people into the space, but it also, I think, has a way of leaving a bad taste in people's mouth if they, buy the top and they, whatever, lose it all. And so I would say treat it as, like, if you're going to throw money in it, treat it as a gamble, right? In some sense, all investing is, you don't know what the outcome is going to be. But if like these are meme coins, I don't know how in depth any of their white papers are or roadmaps are, but I think they're marketing themselves as a meme more than as a utility, right? So I don't.
Yeah, it's all based on marketing and
So
who's who they have behind it. That's always the kicker. So just
yeah.
just please be wary of that.
Yeah. So don't take yourself too seriously. Don't take the investment too seriously. It's a meme. It's a meme.
yeah, I
It's
think
meant
I
to be a
think
joke.
I think that was the best advice, Brandon. It's just be prepared to lose money. Like,
Yeah.
really, you are gambling. If you're gonna play, you're playing a game, so you're playing with play money. Don't don't risk money that you can't afford to lose, especially on something like that, because it's not an investment. Don't think of meme coins as an investment
Yeah.
by any stretch of the imagination.
Make sure you pay your taxes
Okay.
or report the losses on your taxes.
Yeah. They'll save you some money. Yeah. Losses.
Yeah, definitely,
That
definitely
saved me.
report the losses.
Got me a bit of a refund this past year. So, um, yeah, I do think it's interesting. So just to, look at the space, I think it's interesting. I think Pepe is the one that took things out, or started things off this meme coin season, and it's like it's just funny to watch these things go, right? Because it went from having a market cap of I think a few $1,000 to like now it's in the top 50 on Coin Market Cap, like, and it's getting listings that I don't know. I feel like and these
KuCoin.
could be
I've
rumors,
been
right?
looking
But
at it on KuCoin
KuCoin, I
since we
think I heard of
started.
Binance, but again,
Binance,
rumors. I don't know, but
no, Binance is true.
it is confirmed. Gosh, it's hilarious,
Jeez,
right? And so everybody's trying to be the
crazy.
next one. There's a lot of rug pulls out there. If you're, they try to be the next one to an extent, and then they pull the rug out. So
That's what I
anyway,
say. If
uh,
it's too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true.
yeah,
But we're
yeah,
not, and this has been a
yeah.
fun episode. So I don't know what else. What else you guys want to send people off with on this lovely May? Hopefully, everybody's getting some decent weather. We just started here in Minnesota, so couldn't be more stoked for that. Honestly, summer couldn't come soon enough. We've had a long spring slash winter slash spring slash winter. So I'm sure Matt, you're
Yeah.
experiencing similar. So it's good to kind of be just be back in this kind of mindset, and just it's fun to have meme coin season back a little bit. So I might actually try to be profitable this time around, unlike my previous goes at it. So I'm not saying I'm going to be successful, and I'll keep the podcast aware. In a tasteful fashion. But yeah, be safe out there, everybody. Bitcoin is still, if I were getting into crypto for the first time ever, I would still recommend buying Bitcoin or Ethereum, and then, well, buying Bitcoin, then buying Ethereum, and then going down the rabbit holes that present themselves in this crypto world. Make sure you're doing your research, and make sure that you are owning your crypto with a ledger, not your keys, not your crypto. Couldn't be more real than that. As yours truly is going through this Voyager crisis right now, it couldn't be a better example. So learn from our mistakes, and just look for the opportunity where it comes. And we just appreciate everybody for listening to us. The past, what episode is this? This got to be like
14.
14. Yeah, and we're looking forward to bringing you some awesome guests in the upcoming weeks. A lot of awesome things on deck, and yeah, it'll be a good time. And just thank you for listening, and we hope everybody stays blessed. And yeah, just have a great rest of your week. Peace.